right, welcome to another round of Let's Play Sierra. I did it again. All right, let's play Westwood Studio Games. This is Legend of Kyrandia 3, Malcolm's Revenge. This story follows essentially, if you're watching the video, it's going to be extremely sped up, I should say first, because if you watch the long play, it is 7 hours because I did all 3 endings. Anyway, so this is Malcolm's Revenge. If you watched my playthrough of Legend of Kyrandia 2, The Hand of Fate, you do see that Malcolm is freed at the very end of his statue prison when a lightning bolt strikes him, and this is exactly where Legend of Kyrandia 3 picks up. Is Malcolm has been freed. In Legend of Kyrandia 1, Malcolm is defeated by Brandon and turned into a statue. So literally the whole game is all tied together from 1 to 2 to 3. So the game starts off in this junkyard just by the castle. And in here you're going to find a number of items. Some of them are going to be useful, some of them are not. Having not used a walkthrough for my first part of, I mentioned 3 endings, there's 3 types of choices you can make near the end. For the first one, I didn't use walkthrough. For the next 2 choices, where it picks up near the end of the game and you can alternate your choice, I did use a walkthrough just to get through those choices fast. But this game, my favorite was Legend of Kyrandia 1, Fables and Fiends. That was by far my favorite of the 3. I really enjoyed the humor. But Hands of Fate was really good in terms of game design. I felt like with Malcolm's Revenge, they stepped away from that. And I apologize, that is my corgi barking in the background. In this game, not only did they implement a maze similar to what you saw in Legend of Kyrandia 1 in the cave, they also introduced a very random factor of things, especially with a vendor near the end of the game, as to what he is buying and what he is selling. You literally have to keep going in and out of the screen until you get it right. So there is a lot of random factor, and the maze is horrendous. So we started off, and basically Malcolm is just moving around. You're going to click around. You're going to pick up, similar to every Sierra game, you're just going to pretty much pick up everything you can. And similar to the previous 2 Legend of Kyrandia games, anything you pick up, you can actually safely drop on any screen. There is only one screen that I know of where if you drop something, it does not stay there. And that is inside the castle with the pirates. We'll see that later. So when come here, things are kind of in ruins. Everything's locked up. And you kind of discover that things have happened here in Kyrandia. As you can see, this is Malcolm's room. This is his photo album. So you can kind of see everyone that he's related to. Kind of give you clues about certain people, like Calic and Brandon. So it's kind of cool. The game does have some, well, not some. It has a lot of humor to it because, Malcolm is this crazy jester. And the story is that essentially in the beginning, it whizzed by so quickly in this version. If you watch the playthrough, you'll see Malcolm essentially had 2, like the devil and the angel kind of conscious thing, which is Stuart was the angel and Gunther was the devil. And so what happens is in the beginning is Malcolm as a young child is struggling with this conscious of good and evil and Stuart and Gunther. And eventually these things take a physical manifestation, if you will, and Gunther pretty much knocks out Stuart. So Malcolm proceeds to just go forward in life with just having Gunther, which is the quote unquote devil on the shoulder kind of personality. And so he kind of does a bunch of malicious stuff, but this is the only part I don't understand. This is why I feel like Malcolm's Revenge, story-wise, kind of ruined Malcolm's character, because despite him basically listening to Gunther, which is, like I said, the quote-unquote devil personality, the devil on the shoulder personality, I should say, they end up recruiting Malcolm, the king and queen, King William and Queen Catherine, I believe it is. They end up recruiting Malcolm to be the court jester. So, here's this person who has a very bad reputation of basically um, being malicious and doing trickery and stuff like that all the time. And yet the king and queen bring him in to be trusted. And I feel like when we see, especially in the first Legend of Grandia, when we see Malcolm, he is very, very, very mischievous and kind of malicious. So I feel like by trying to redeem his character in this game and prove, I like the conscience of the, Stuart and Gunther, the good and the bad on his shoulder. But they established that in the previous games that Malcolm was responsible for the murder of the king and queen. This story will eventually prove that he was technically not guilty of those murders, which is good because you don't want to be playing a game where the person is a murderer unless it's Dexter. But I felt like part of that kind of took away from what Malcolm was this kind of crazy, mischievous, very much like a Loki type of personality from Norse mythology. And this just goes to show, oh no, it was an issue with his personality, and when we get to it, you'll see that indeed he did not actually kill the king and queen. So there is this kid who talks really weird. Um, that kid right there, he appears randomly, but everything he says seems to be in reverse, like he's speaking backwards. And so that took me a while. And the mime also took me a while to figure out what to do with him. And with the mime, it just so happened to be luck that I was clicking on different things. And I was actually trying to move my meter. So over in the lower right hand side, you can see I have the meter set to nice. So there's like nice, normal, and then liar or whatever. And I was sliding my meter or clicking my meter, and I happened to click on this mime here when he was turned around, and it revealed what was supposed to happen. So you see that he goes in there. Now we need to steal the mimes thing. So what happened is you put the eel, when he was turned around, you put the eel into his shirt thing, and then he goes in there. You take his outfit, and so you dress up as a mime. And that's because you want to convince this dog that you want to get off this island. And now, this is, I think they call it the cat of the, I call it New Island, but there's like cats and dogs that dominate this land. And um, this, this whole section, this whole section is everything that is wrong with this game. So, for example, you'll see in a moment, like I'll hitch a ride with the dog who is having the cat pull the wagon, and when you talk to the cat, he essentially says, "Hey, there's a rebellion. We're gonna rebel against the dogs. The dogs have enslaved us." But when you talk to the dog, he offers you a ride, and I'm not sure if this is 100% random, but it certainly felt that way because you ask for a ride and he takes you here to these pirates. From here, there is literally nothing you can do. And if you try to go into the jungle at any point without a machete, you will die, as you've seen already twice. And now, so not able to do anything with the pirates, I clicked on a ride again, and then he took me back to the altar. And then I clicked for a ride again, and then he took me to the pirates. And then I think it's this time. Nope, one more time. So I'm back at the altar of the cats. And then I'm back at the altar of the pirates. And I literally saved the game. It seems like I'm stuck because there's nothing I can do at the altar. But then finally, randomly, on what was that? Fourth try, it takes me to the dog fort. I feel like they purposely injected so much randomness into this island to make the game longer. So what should happen is every time you go to a ride, it should take you to the next place. So maybe it goes from altar to the pirates to the dog last. That would have been fine. but it seems to randomize it. And then there is this random jungle that you see me now walking through, and there's bones scattered all around, and you can figure out, okay, so there's dogs, and these bones are probably connected to those dogs in some regard, in terms of you give a dog a bone, something, right? So this jungle, I tried to map it on a graph paper, and it made no sense to me. I could not figure out how that jungle worked. Like I would go, twice right and then mark that down. There was no way to go back left, so there's no way to verify it unless you end up back to where the dogs are and try to map it. This whole jungle seems absolutely random. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But for the life of me, because you can't always go left and right. And sometimes you can go up, but you can't always go down. This jungle felt extremely difficult to maneuver through because you would exit to the left, but then when you get to that next screen, you can't actually exit back to the right, even if you chop the trees out of the way or chop the leaves. So this thing felt very, very, very random. And these bones scattered all over this place are everywhere. And you'll see, or if you've watched the long play, you'll see how Malcom itches himself just like he's doing there. And if you click on him, you pick up fleas. Now, what I did not know is eventually he'll get to a point where if he has all these fleas on him, he will die. But thankfully, the game does a thing where it says, hey, second chance, and it just picks you up right where you're at. So now the other random thing. So you give this dog a bone, and he'll go dig up things, and there'll be jewels. So each time I gave him a bone, it was a different jewel. So I thought, okay, I'm going to keep doing this until he repeats jewels because I don't know what I need. And sometimes he'll give you a jewels when he digs, and sometimes he won't. So literally, probably the best thing to do for anyone who is playing this game now is when you collect a number of bones, I think you need, I think it's 6. Because there's 3 statues on that side, 3 statues on the other side. I think it's a total of 6. So he just died right there. What was I saying? Oh, when you give the bone, so you need 6 bones at least. And you can see Malcom keeps dying. You need 6 bones at least. When you go back to the dog fort, save before you give him a bone. If when you do and he digs and gives you a jewel, cool, save again, and then give him another bone. If he doesn't give you a jewel, just restore. Because what I ended up doing is repeatedly going through this jungle. I didn't know if this, you had to eventually find X amount of bones, which might be the case. But it got to a point where I kept going through the jungle and I was like, you know what? This is too much. Like I have like 4 bones and I only need whatever, like how many ever jewels. I didn't know at the time. I was just looking for it to start repeating or stop at all, So like if I give him a bone, he doesn't give me any jewels at all. Like I've given him 4 and he doesn't give me any. So I end up having like 4 or 5 bones, and I would give it to him. If he didn't dig up a jewel, I just restored. Give him another one. If he dug up a gem, save, give him another one. So this aspect was another random portion of the game that was just really unnecessary. So anyway, when you go through the jungle, there is a cat in the jungle that you'll eventually talk to who is hiding behind the trees. We'll see him a few times. But you'll see in the inventory I have a mouse. That mouse you're going to take to the cat altar. And it will imbue it. And then that's when I discovered, after Malcom had died a number of times, if you just keep clicking him until there's no more fleas, that'll get rid of the fleas. And also, apparently if you jump in the water just like that, that'll also basically reset the flea count. But as you're walking through the land, you'll continue to get fleas. So if you start seeing Malcom itch, do yourself a favor, start clicking on Malcom and then click the fleas off of the screen. Or every time you see this puddle, jump in there. And this is only on this island. I cannot tell you how much I dislike this portion of the game. So that was the cat that I was talking about. that he'll hand you the mouse to bring back to the cat altar. And he will tell you that he's a part of the rebellion and they are rebelling against the dogs. So you're helping the cats rebel against the dog enslavers. So at this point, I don't know if you've watched the long playthrough, I am absolutely lost in this jungle. I keep repeating and seeing the same screens. Despite trying to move in different directions and do different things, I can't seem to find my way back to, I think I'm trying to find my way back to the altar. Which, by the way, if you manage to find the cat, the spy cat in the bushes, you just need to go to the right. So you can see, like, that time I gave him bone and he did not reveal a jewel. And you can see already I'm starting to do the save restore option until I start seeing a duplication, which never actually happens, or to the point where he stops entirely giving me jewels. And I think that's at 6. So you put each of the gems at the base of the altar. I don't think you have to do this. I just assumed because when you click on the altar, it says, I wonder if something goes up there. And if you recall in Legend of Kyrandia 2, there's a potion that you literally have to put on the altar. And so you click on all the things on that altar, and it kind of reveals the power of those. So when you use the mouse, you'll see the 6 cat statues. Now, there is a room. When I get to it, I'll talk about it. So now, this was also kind of random too. You had to figure out the birthstones. Like, so when you go to the altar, you see what each one symbolizes. But in no way, unless someone, if you are watching this and listening to me, there's no way to determine based off what you know from each gem to represent each cat. So it really was random luck that I picked 6, got it wrong, tried a few different ones, got it wrong, and then went back the other way and just happened to get it right. So it took quite a few tries. And anyway, when you get that right and you go to the right, you'll see a fat cat there and it says, "Oh, I'd rather just lay here." So when you find that cat, the spy cat again, he says, "Hey, now we're rebelling against the lazy cats or the fat cats or whatever it is." So now you have to do a different mission for him. And then once again, go through the bleeping jungle. And the pirate guy says, "Hey, if you show me magic, I'll, help sail you back to Kyrandia. If you use the mouse on yourself." I ended up restoring, but I don't know how long this lasts if you turn yourself into a mouse. Because I ended up restoring, but it doesn't end the game when I did it. So I assume at some point the mouse effect wears off. I thought that was pretty funny. But what you're supposed to do is click on the pirate with the red and white shirt, turn him into a mouse, and then the captain says, "Oh, that looks like powerful magic." But what's his name? I forgot it. I already forgot his name. It's Hermit or whatever. Herman. I think it's Herman. He finds out about it and he turns you in, and you are basically sent to the edge of the world. And you have 3 coins to basically buy on this thing. Definitely buy life insurance in the event you perish, as I did. And then I just bought random stuff with the other 2. I just bought the umbrella and the other thing, and then I tried flippers. So I tried a little bit of everything, and then tried the barrel. So I believe it took 2 or 3 tries to get the right combination of things. And the thing is, like, when you put, if you plunge to your death, they say, "Oh, that good insurance, life insurance is good." So when you put on something, it'll give you something else too. So like when you put on the flippers, it gives you this other thing. If you put on the tube, it gives you another thing. And so as I was descending, I was looking, and like that hook out of the water immediately made me think of the umbrella hook. So I will eventually get the umbrella hook, and then that random plant had to be there for a reason. So you inflate it and then jump across. And this is like seeing that it's sped up amazingly quick because, again, 7 hours compressed down to an hour video. I couldn't tell what the purpose of that was. And there's another similar video cut thing where I don't know what they were trying to imply. So, and this is kind of weird here on these ledges. So like if you jump straight from the ledge, you die. So what you actually have to do is move a little bit to the left, like go towards the left side of it, and then jump down, like as if you're going to jump down on that ledge, and then you survive. So there was a lot of random. See, this is the other scene. Like, I'm not sure what that's supposed to imply, other than, oh, you know what? In hindsight, I think I know what that implies. Maybe that time is going by because when Malcom comes out from the edge of the world and all of this, oh, away from here anyway. Um, you find out that you've actually been out for, I think it's 2 years, maybe more. So now you're in Fish World, or whatever this place is officially called, and she does a thing where she has a collar on your neck and she'll summon you to play tic-tac-toe, essentially. And so you would think you have to beat her, but no, you don't. You actually want to lose to her. Otherwise, she'll keep playing against you. And then when you lose to her, you want to say, oh, you're like super smart, you're super great. I could never beat you. So it's almost a challenge to lose to her because she will purposely do, I don't know if purposely, she's programmed to make bad moves. So even when you're trying to purposely lose against her, she will do something really random and not place it. She might have two, missing just that third one, and you click somewhere else. And that third one would clearly be the win, but she'll put her thing somewhere else, dragging the game on. So that was it. That was an example that we just saw quickly go by. I was trying to lose, and the way she placed it, I was actually ended up forced to do the winning move because I couldn't go anywhere else without winning. Like both locations that I had for options were winning solutions for me. This section is also really frustrating. So not so much right here because you can talk to him and he gives you coins, and you'll need a bunch of coins, and you can keep coming back and talking to him and getting these coins. So keep that in mind if you're playing this game and you need coins later. You can literally keep going back to that guy and say, yeah, you're the tax collector. But there is something that you'll do that leads you down into that area. And okay, and then first let me talk about that. So Malcolm's staff, the jester thing, was an accidental click that it could move. I thought that was, so when I found it, I thought, oh, okay, now we're going to be able to do magic because Malcom was doing magic in the first one. So I thought that was kind of his channeling magic thing. So I was like, okay, put it there. Now we'll eventually be able to make magic or make potions because we're finding vials of potion everywhere. No, it's actually an inventory item that you can use, especially right there, where you can, well, previous screen, where you can tickle the fish and get the apple. But anyway, so you come over here, you click that, and you end up down here. This is where it's frustrating. There's actually one thing that you for sure have to get out of there, which is a newspaper. And so when I clicked on it and said, hey, get out of there, I was like, okay, well, I'm missing something. Like, there's junk here, but you only have so much time, or it might be registered in clicks, I don't know, before he tells you to leave. So I was literally doing this screen a number of times, repeatedly trying this. And you can see I'm not even getting anything yet, but I know there has to be something here, right? Because there's no reason that you just ride this thing just to ride it. I mean, they could have, sure, just to make it fun because he sometimes makes faces like that. But I figured there's more to it. Like suddenly I'm picking up, this time I got slime. Okay, so maybe we're using slime for a potion or whatever. So I just kept trying because now that I got slime, I'm going to try to get other stuff. So like I said, there is something there to get, and it's actually like a newspaper. And it's like right where Malcolm's feet are. It's like if you click on that rock, at least from what I saw, that's where it frequently, or that's where it appeared, I should say, for me. But I got to the point where I finally got smart, similar to the bones, where what I would do is once I came down the slide, I just saved right there. And then I would just, if he told me to get off, I would just restore. And so there's a fondue set, which I already picked up. So the worm seemed like it could be something, but you can also get that from the apple. Because being a fish world or whatever, I thought something there was going to be something with fishing. The sock you get off the fence, so you don't even need it from the junkyard. The key you don't need because you find the key as soon as you leave the Queen's area. And there you can see that time I got the newspaper. Still trying to see if I need anything else. Got tired, literally saved it as tired of searching. We'll come back later. So now we're going to talk to this guy. Only other area we can go. And he says, hey, yeah, I can. You can fire into the cannon thing, and it'll send you around. Just costs so many coins. And like I said, the coins are easy to get. You just keep going back to that guy. So if you don't have enough coins, you can do that. So now we're in the underworld, and we can see what appears to be Elvis over there. And what you're going to have to do, if I remember, you're going to set your thing to nice to be able to talk to the guy at the front of the line, except for the fact that she summons you away. And her summoning away is because of that collar you're wearing, which will be important later on in the game. But one of the save games, if you watch my long play, is literally called This Summoning is Getting Old or something like that. Because it does get frustrating when you're trying to move around and do stuff and you're just randomly pulled away. And the second time you ride the cannon thing, it costs more money. So you need to just keep going back to that guy and collecting money off of him. He apparently makes a lot of money at his junkyard because he just keeps dishing out cash. So what you want to do is do the newspaper and the coin together, because when you talk to the woman in the underworld, she says, if you want to summon a dead spirit, just put a newspaper that talks about them or something like that and a gold coin on it, and that'll summon the spirit. And so he summons, and he takes his throne and scares her away. So now you have time to do things because you will not get summoned because she has been scared off of her throne. But you still have that necklace around your neck. And so when you do nice and go and talk to her, she'll let you through. There's this really bizarre interaction with a number of people who all know who Malcolm is. I'm guessing this is kind of like a purgatory state because everyone's like, oh, you're like the funniest guy, you're the best jester, blah, 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 blah. You end up finding out that there's something wrong with Malcolm's paperwork and she sends him away. You click on the digger and make your way through. And you end up back at the crossroads of Kyrandia. And now both consciences are there. They want to say, and this is where you have a choice between the three. So I ended up going with the good conscience first and going through and beating the game with the good conscience, just, because the good guy. And when you come here, you see that Brandon and Calic have been turned into mice because they have your mouse thing. And they ask to be freed, and then you talk to the pirate like, hey, how can I prove that, how do I buy their freedom? And he turns you into a mouse, and you're with them, and now you have to find your way out of here. So you use the nail. They drop all the things they had, which you will need. So this took a while. You get this fertilized plant thing by combining the sesame seed things and the water, and that will bust open the door. And then they give you a cure, so you're Malcom again. And there's Herman again. You'll find out this is one of those random spots where sometimes he says, hey, I'm only buying keys right now, or hey, I'm only selling this dagger. Never pick up the dagger, by the way. I'm pretty sure it's the cursed family dagger, and you don't want that. But basically, you go back here and say, how can I prove it? And they essentially want you to go back and go to, well, they want 6 gems from the Island of the Cats. So now you know you have to blank and go back to the frickin' Island of the Cats. But then how do you get there? So we're going to go through. We make different toys based on what you're pressing on the lever. So you make like a little wooden thing. And you find out, oh, when you go through the hole in the floor and come back up, Xanthia's here. So when you talk to Xanthia, she, try to say, I didn't do it. I want to prove my innocence. And she says, hey, I can make you a horse potion. And it's random. I had the piece of wood, put it in the thing, made a horse. You put it in the thing, the wooden horse, and it creates a Pegasus potion. And if you remember the circle thing, the circular cliff thing, that's where you do the Pegasus transformation. This thing here. So then you click the Pegasus on yourself, and you will fly back. Make sure you pick up the machete, or you're not gonna get far. So once again, doubling down on the worst part of the game, they bring you back to the Island of the Cats, Island of the Dogs, whatever. So this is, earlier I said there's a room. This room is not ever used, as far as I can tell. Unless maybe if you do something at the altar of the cats when they're all statues and come down here, but that's not even possible because then everything's already done. So that room with the underground with the cats, I don't know what that's for. So if anyone has figured out what that's for, because it doesn't come into play in any of the other consciousness choices, like the Gunther or the Malcom choices. So I have no idea what that room is there for, like why there is even that underground segment. So if you happen to know what that's for, what can be seen there, let me know in the comments. I save all my games, so I'd love to check out whatever can be done there. All right, so you make cheese from the cheese maker that the cat in the jungle gives you. Give it to the mouse statue, and he will give you the 6 gems because the 6 cats will return back to their normal self. So if you come back to him, he says, oh, hey, yeah, I can get you back. Just sniff this can of tuna, and it'll teleport you. So now it seems like we're almost done with the game, right? Like, we go over here, give him the 6 gems. By the way, you don't have to give him all 6. What you actually can do, and this is where I got stuck because I was like, okay, I gave them the 6 gems and they didn't leave. What do I do? What you have to do is come back, give them the collar, and then at that point, the fish queen, or whatever you want to call her, reclaims her throne, and she summons up, thinking it's going to be you, but summons the prince. And when that happens, all the pirates see him suddenly disappear, and they all freak out. So now that that's happened, you go back, and they say, hey, we're here, and now I need to figure out what to do next, because the whole point seemed at one point is to free free Brandon and Calic from the pirates. But when you drive away the pirates, that doesn't end the game. You'd think that would end the game, but no, you still have to prove your innocence. And one thing I will note is in the good playthrough, I didn't do it, where I went back to the Queen's grave and said, hey, I'm putting myself on trial. I want you to be there. But in one of the other choices, it might be when I did the Malcolm choice, I went back to her during this time and did the 2 flowers to talk to her and say, putting myself on trial, like, it'd be great if you're there. Um, she never actually shows up, which is kind of disappointing. The only person who is summoned is King William, but both King William and King, it's Catherine, I think, right? They were both murdered, so it's a bummer that she doesn't speak up as well. Like, how did she die? Clearly she was murdered, but when you see what happens, King William stabs himself. So how is it that Catherine was killed? We don't know. I assume, because she says her hand was on the dagger, maybe at some point she came and took the dagger from um, Malcolm, and then at that point began stabbing herself. Not really sure, but um, it just seemed weird that you have the option to talk to her and tell her to show up to your trial, and she never speaks up or does anything. There's no interaction with her when you're at the trial portion of the game. Also, if you use the cheesemaker and give it to the citizens of Kyrandia, that cures them of their mouse. You saw me do it at the parlor, and then when you give it to Brandon, both Brandon and Calic fight over it, and then they disappear. So when you turned into the Pegasus, everything that you're carrying dropped into that circle of the Pegasus. Now this ship is accessible also. There's a bunch of like things you can randomly click to see monsters show up, but there is actually nothing in the ship that I found that you could click on. And then summoning those weird random monster things also doesn't do anything. You don't even get like exploration points or anything like that for summoning up these monsters and seeing these little things that the programmers may have purposely hid. So from the ledge, you do the fishing thing. You're going to need a total of 3 eels, and the best thing to do is get 2 vials of water. So you can find the water, put it in there. That's not enough. That's why I said you need 2. Wasn't sure how many you needed. So you throw that in there. Then the cows come. And then what you want to do is poke the vat with a nail and then get some cream. So if you talk to him, he can't make the frozen fish sandwich thing. So you have to put an eel in there, the cream in there, and then and the sesame seeds. So you need sesame seed, eel, and the cream. And then when you go back to Malcolm's apartment, this one was kind of hidden. I was just clicking around everywhere, and you find a picture of um, someone from Malcolm's family. And when you talk to this guy, it's a picture of King William, who you will discover that they're related. You click on the box and gives you a preview that says Malcolm didn't kill me. So now you give the sandwich to the statue because you can see he's eating a sandwich, and then he says, if they won't come to us here, we'll go to them because they're all at the parlor. And so you click on that and you see that the gift is from someone. They don't say who. It says an anonymous gift. And when King William picks it up, he ends up stabbing himself. And then Malcolm tries to stop him but can't. So then Malcolm goes to sleep. The salesman shows up, tries to sell him some stuff. I don't know what the purpose of that was. And then Brandon and Calic show up, and they say they want to make you king, which is weird. And then the warden shows up and says, "Oh, by the way, you have a son." And the son goes, "Daddy." And so we're just going to see the credits here. But if you hang out past the credits, you'll see the Gunther choice, because I did the Stewart choice, which was the good angel. And you'll see the Gunther choice and how that plays out, and then also the Malcolm choice, but I'm not sure in which order when I saved it. All right, so next we're going to see the Gunther choice. And it plays pretty much a lot the same. So you go here and they say, hey, you need to go to the island, get the 6 gems. But what you have to do at the island may be different things. So, because once you are doing Gunther, once you pick a conscious, so if you pick Stuart, Gunther, or Malcolm, the thing in the lower right where you can say nice, medium, or liar, it breaks once you make your choice. And you're kind of stuck with whatever choice you made. So now we're doing what I call the evil side, which is Gunther. So I know from playing the good side that there are a number of items that Herman will buy, like leather ball, a toy soldier, toy horse, a golden key, pretty much anything that was in your inventory at some point. And so I know that there is a gold key I don't need, so I took that and then 2 rocking horses, because if he says rocking horse, you can sell those back to back. So you sprinkle some cheese, grab the thing, you hypnotize him with the little hook thing. Again, for the Gunther and Malcolm choices, I did use a walkthrough because I figured I already beat it using the Stuart walkthrough, so you'll see that everything moves much quicker and easier when I do the Gunther and Malcolm choice, other than the random effects that are in there. But that's because, like I said, I did use a walkthrough for those 2 choices just to power through it because I've already beat the game. I just want to see the other 2 choices and how they worked. So you need when you go, you click in that sewer, you click the 2 tiles, and so I will say that you do summon in that stairwell, but not in the cat room. So you still don't know why the cat room is there. Anyway, so when you ended up in the sewer, that where you jump down from Malcolm's apartment, you click on the green apple and the red apple, and it'll teleport you to the wizard and the dragon. The dragon says, "I want a squirrel." So you have to lure the squirrel over, I think, with cheese, and then hypnotize it with the nutmeg thing on a rope, whatever. And then that's when she gives you the teleporting potion. Go to that area where the frog is, and then teleport. And you can see we're back on Kyrandia doing what we have to do. And when we teleported, there's all of our items we teleported from. So the thing is, you only have to give 1 gem, and I did not realize that when I did the Stewart playthrough. When I looked at the walkthrough, it says give 1 gem, the captain will slide down, and then you give him the necklace, and then he'll get teleported away. And it doesn't matter if you use all 6 gems, but it just makes it easier. And so this is one of those examples where before I gave the cheese and they'd fight, and if you do the Gunther personality or option, he'll say no way, let him find cheese themselves. So that is something that was different. Yeah, so the Gunther version, you can see if you watch the playthrough, I did go back and say, hey, I'm putting myself on trial. I'd like you to be there. King William would be there. So, but like I said, she doesn't show up and she doesn't add anything. So it was weird, or not weird. It was disappointing that they didn't kind of explain what happened to Queen Catherine, other than the fact that she was supposedly murdered by Malcolm, which apparently was not the case. So anytime the crutch thing appears, you want it because that's what fixes the fish thing, the parlor at the fish house. Sorry, the fish at the parlor house. And this time I was smarter. I had 2 flasks because I know that's what I'm going to need when I do the cow thing. So you water the 2, put those 2 in. Like I said, it plays very similar. Use the nail. But this time when you do the Gunther choice, there's no one here, so you just use the crutch on it and you make the sandwich yourself. and you're able to proceed. I will say, I wish there was more consequence if you picked the Gunther side. Like everyone still says, "Oh, welcome back, Malcolm," and basically welcomes Malcolm back despite picking the Gunther side. I get it. Malcolm did not, as we just saw, murder the king, so that's all good. But yeah, I just figured if you're picking this kind of malicious devil on your shoulder side, not that the devil on the shoulder is always you're doing evil, but you know you're doing questionable stuff. I wish there would have been more repercussion to that type of stuff. So when you do the Gunther side, you'll notice that Brandon and Calic were not turned into humans, and they show up to say, "Hey, do you think you can turn us human?" And then again, the warden shows up with your son. So apparently, while in prison, Malcolm and the warden had relations and ended up having a child. So you can see I put the necklace there. You remember I said the inventory is safe everywhere except for one screen, which is where the pirates are at. You'll see why. Because knowing that I need the necklace, that I'm going to eventually give it to the captain, I left it there thinking when I come back with the 6 jewels that I know they're going to make me go get, I'll just have the necklace in that room. But when I get there, it's gone. But it's back where it always is. It's in the junkyard. So it's not like, you mess up the game or anything like that. So again, pretty much playing exactly the same. And this is now, if you missed it, it's the Malcolm choice. So the balance between the devil on the shoulder and the angel on the shoulder. I will also say that I wasn't a fan of the mouse down to make the inventory screen pop up. Because a lot of times I would put my mouse down there and you'll see I'm trying to make it pop up and it doesn't. So that was kind of frustrating at times. I mean, you've already heard me say everything I'm going to say about the jungle, so I'll be quiet about it and then just speed up this segment because you already know what's happening. Go through the jungle, get bones. Oh, and I should say, to be clear, because this is a Malcolm choice, it is different. You're probably thinking, wait, well, why are you getting bones? You can just get the gems very easily. It's because, having read the walkthrough, I know what's needed, and you need the bones before you talk to the cat who is spying, because he says, "Bring me 10 bones, and I'll help you." So you need 10 bones in order to get any help. But because the bones in this jungle drop randomly, it does take a long time. So if I remember correctly, I end up like having like 6 bones that I give to him, and then I go find 4 more to try to give him. But this jungle thing was atrocious. So you can see I'm giving him some of the bones because I can't seem to generate more bones. So yeah, I was right. It was 6 that I'd given him. Now I need to find 4 more. And it's funny because I think it's on one of these screens where there is a bone and I accidentally walked off the screen without grabbing it. I think it's this one. Yeah, that screen. So if you looked really quick, there was a bone in the upper right, and I totally walked right past it. And there it is. So now just to find the cat again, do the 10 bone thing. And he gives you the cheesemaker, which is exactly the same. So pretty much from here out, a lot of it operates the same. By the way, to get to the altar of the cats, if you're here, just go to the right. And then you'll be at the altar. And then you can do what you need to do. Make the cheese, give it to the mouse. The mouse depowers the cats, and then you have the gems. And then similar to the other choices, talk to him again, and he uses the tuna to teleport you. So you'll see I'd left the necklace there and it wasn't there, so I had to go back to the junkyard where it's always at. Give 1 gem. The captain slides down and he's driven away. Give some cheese. They don't want cheese. They just want to be free. And that's the other thing. So if you're in the junkyard and not finding the items you need, you can just exit to the left and come right back. And then the ability to click on that drawer and the other cabinet just above will yield items. So again, with the senseless amount of randomness that is in this game. And see, so in the Malcom choice, I did the same thing, came back to tell her that I'm putting myself on trial. Would be great if she was there. Thanks for not speaking up or doing anything, even though I invited you, and prove that I didn't commit the murder. Not that I'm bitter. So, I mean, despite the island of the cats, the island of the dogs, the island of the fleas, whatever, this game is actually pretty enjoyable despite the randomness, such as Herman's here. The island is the most intolerable part of the game. Everything else I actually really enjoyed. Even the thing with Herman was fine. But that island of the cats and dogs, nearly a game breaker. Like this game would probably be an easy 8 or 9, but that cat thing brings it down to like a 6. And I remembered correctly, believing that Malcolm's Revenge was my least favorite of the Legend of Kyrandia series. So, in terms of overall enjoyment, the first one to me, despite the maze, because the maze is actually easy to map, and then the burststone things, if you remember to save, it's all good. If there was no ability to save, that would be different. But the ability to save at the birthstone thing doesn't make the birthstone segment that bad because you already know what the first one is because you get that clue. It's just the rest are randomized after that. Um, so the first one to me is the funnest because Brandon does a bunch of dialogue that is very silly. Like when you click on a vase, he goes, "Oh, I thought I left my slippers there," and just that type of weird offbeat humor versus there's nothing there made it a more enjoyable game. Now, Legend of Kyrandia 2 was the better designed game. However, they took away the things that were frustrating. They took away most of the randomness. There is no mazes that I can remember. And so, and then Xanthia was still a very fun character. Like I liked how every time she went into a different area, she changed her attire to kind of match whatever was in the area. So like if she was in the snow, she had like a snow coat on. And then when she got upset near the end, she went full on Rambo. So Legend of Grandia 2 does definitely have a bunch of charm. It is a better designed game. I still like the first one the best. Malcolm's Revenge definitely falls to the third for me. But still an enjoyable game. Just wish they had done away with some of the randomness, the abundance of randomness that is in this game. And you can see with your Malcolm choice where you've picked both Gunther and Stuart, um, King Brandon is restored to normal, and so is Calic. And there we go. We end the game with your son.